Hello, this is Stuart Roberts, founder of Haircuts for Homeless, and welcome to the Hear Me, See Me podcast. I'm going to be talking to people who are truly inspirational to me. Some you may have heard of, and some you haven't, but you really need to hear their story. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me, See Me podcast. Today I'm with a really great guy. I've only known for a little while. We've done some good stuff together. Today I'm with Steve Easton. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
Very good.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, yeah. After a long Salon International weekend. That's why I look like the walking dead. But Stephen is our team leader for our new Camden Haircuts for Homeless. So, we've worked together a couple of times, and you're an interesting guy, so I wanted you on the podcast. So tell me, where did you grow up? What was your sort of upbringing like?
So I grew up in, I moved around a lot as a kid, and in Scotland. So mayed around not because of any army background or anything, just my parents and, breakups. And we actually moved to London when I was really little. My dad had his issues, so we moved here and then went back. So mainly Scotland though, and settled in Aberdeen when I was about 11.
All right.
Yeah.
So is it you wasn't sort of you're a bit transient, was you at the beginning? Was it like
a wee bit?
What's
that?
Was it like not to have the roots? Because I had very strong roots, so I'm the one who was like.
It's a funny one. I think I feel them more now as I get older, but I think it's a good thing because I've moved around quite a bit as an adult, and it makes you a bit less fearful of moving cities,
right.
But it also makes you a bit itchy and a bit less. And now as I get older, being settled and having stability I'm understanding it just now. Why is it so important? So but I wouldn't trade being Scottish. I love being Scottish.
Oh yeah. I'm half Scottish, so my dad was Scot, and he grew up on a farm, and then they chucked him in the boffey at 14, and he jogged off down to England with the army as soon as he could. But I've still got family up there, and I love going. Yeah. It's a beautiful country,
It's amazing. I just miss the humour.
Yeah.
Like no offense to down south. I love being here, but people we're just funny.
Yeah. I know. Oh, whenever I've cut hair, they rip me to pieces. Not quite as much as Liverpool. They really rip me to pieces at Liverpool, but yeah, the Scottish have a go at me as well.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good fun. I love being a Scot.
Yeah. Where did you? So what took you into hairdressing?
Do you know what I had a rough time at school, and with that I wasn't really kind of focused on what I was going to do, when you start to get to like 15 and people are chatting about what you're going to do. But my mum used to send me to the salon and to get my hair cut. And it was like we lived in like a village in Aberdeenshire, and they had a lassie who was working there on a Saturday, and bless her. I don't know what she's up to nowadays, but she was quite quiet. And in Scotland, they call that doer.
Oh, right.
Like she was just a wee bit sullen, not too chatty. And she was the Saturday girl at the time. And I came in and they said, "Oh, you'd be really good." And I'd always I had a paper round and worked in a restaurant and all that stuff. So I just thought, right, I'll work here on a Saturday. And at the time, so I was 15, and at the time there was the TV program, The Salon, remember? Yeah. And it was like, I just remember thinking, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
And they were all like I didn't really know. I wasn't really accepting the gay thing yet, but I knew I was different, and it just looked hairdressing looked quite accepting.
Yeah.
And when I looked into it, at that time, and you'll know this, the school wasn't very supportive. Hairdressing was seen as something that kind of like the naughty girls done.
So you was like a naughty girl, was you?
I was a naughty girl. I was put in that pile. That was the easiest pile for me at the time. And but I remember a friend of mine at school. Her mum and dad had done quite well for themselves and stuff. They had like a nice house and businesses. And she said to me, "If you're going to be a hairdresser, you have to be a good one." So she said, "These are all the posh salons in Aberdeen." Yeah. And had an interview and got an apprenticeship in a Saks salon.
All right, yeah.
In Aberdeen, and rest is history. I was there for 11 years.
Right.
So yeah.
And where did you take you after that? Where did you move from Saks?
I decided to move to Brighton. Genuinely, as basic as this sounds, I went to Brighton Pride for the first time when I was like 27, and I was out in Aberdeen and stuff, but I wasn't, maybe, I don't know, there was always that feeling that I wanted to live a bit of a bigger life than what I could in Aberdeen. Aberdeen's great, but 10 years ago it was still, there's like one gay bar, and it's not. I'd always looked at, I'd been to London a few times and thought, oh my God, I want to do that. So I went to Brighton Pride and thought, I'm going to move here.
Yeah.
So that's what I done. And was at a few places while I was kind of finding my bearings. And then I'd always wanted to work for Trevor Sorby.
Oh,
and I was always a lot. What's that?
They had one down there, didn't they? That was I don't know if
they still do.
Oh, it's still there, is it? Yeah.
They've still got a Brighton salon. So yeah, no, I'd always wanted to work for them, and I'd always been, put off by the Vardering and stuff because I'd heard that it was really tough.
Yeah.
But I kind of finally I was like, no, let's give this a go. And one of the best things I ever done. Worked for them for 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, and ended up teaching for them, and it's kind of what made me into. I'd see myself as a good hairdresser now.
Yeah,
and I was before, but I was still winging it a wee bit.
yeah, cool.
But there's nothing wrong with that. But the Vardering and the education at Sorby's just really put a rod down my back, And so that was that. And now I'm in London, left Sorby's a few years ago, working for an Aveda salon that has a bit of a background of, we have someone who used to work for Sorby's, and, I'm really settled there now. So
yeah,
it's good.
And rolling forward, you contacted me, and then
I know,
and we, it's a great place. That I know you done well because you're looking for places to find it and everything, and it come up with the Salvation Army at Chalk Farm. And it was incredible that first session we done, and me and Belinda, we come out sometimes think, I don't know if this one's going to work, or we've opened so many, we've opened over 80 now across the UK, but we come out and that was one of them. We went, this is great, this is like a real deal, this place, and it's and what was beautiful was over the years, many years working at Whitechapel Mission, I come across a lot of lovely people, and unfortunately we're not able to go in them anymore because of the space. But there was a lovely Irish guy called Michael, and I think I heard him before I saw him. I think I went, I think that's Michael. And I went out the front and went, how you doing? And he come in, and he was, it was so lovely, to see him again.
He's so many characters,
because then we recently done another one there. You carried it on now, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's what we want when our team leaders to like invest in it and make it a regular thing, because these guys get let down all the time. So we say, if you're going to start it, please keep it going, because they get let down by everyone. So we can be the one thing they can rely on, and you've done that, you kept it going. We managed to revisit recently, and we had some wonderful characters that night, didn't we?
Yeah. There was some cracking haircuts as well. Yeah. I was jealous. There was one you were doing. I was like, oh, fuck, I wanted to do that.
I know you did, and that's why I pinched him as soon as because my sister does the list, and I can just give her then some of my. You're talking about the guy with the tattoos.
Yeah, you were the VIP. You've been travelled. You can have the pick. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not proud.
You can get it next time.
He was amazing.
What does it do for you? What do you get from it?
You know what? Like, I'll be honest. I think I'm similar to. I think a lot of people are like this, where when you have struggles in your own life, it's. People suggest to you along the way, you should help other people. And I've always seen it, and I would see how I'm a big searcher. I'm always looking at other people and seeing, how do they get to where they've got to? How did they get past their shite, And I'd always see people helping, and then Haircuts for Homeless has kind of been in my site for it must be at least 5 years now when I first seen it, and I've always thought, that would be good, but I just never got round to it. I never got out of my own way, and then I had a particularly dark time at the end of last year, and I just done it, just got in touch, and honest to God, it's one of the easiest things I do. It's so easy. And I don't mean like the work. I just mean the entire environment. Like, it feels I feel like I could do that twice a week, at least. I could do it every day. But it's so easy. And we spoke about this, like, I do want to tell everyone about it, and I want to tell everyone to do it. But I also understand that I think you have to make a bit of a space mentally to just say, I'm going to give up my time. And then once you've done it, you'll keep doing it, I think. That's the way I see it.
I don't know about you, but it must be a real thing for me, because I've been doing it so long, and the best way in the world, you've got to get fed up with something if you're not getting something out there. And what I get, often I've got the world on my shoulders, and I'm walking, like Chalk Farm is a perfect example. I never want to go, a bit like the gym. I don't want to go. The trek, it's a slip up there, the trains that carry the bags, and and something, I might have had a shit day or a shit week, and I'm like, do that, let's do that, let's do that. And I walk in, and it all lifts. And the first chat with a guest is like, all my shit goes out the window, because I can listen to their shit. Invariably, their shit's a hell of a lot worse than mine. And we sort of float out. We float out, and me and Belinda, and it's always the train journey home's a lot quicker. We've been lifted. We've been, if it's your soul or your spirit, spiritually lifted, and that could be addictive. And I suppose that's my addict. That's my, I love that feeling. And I get it less and less out of fewer things now. It's hard to grab it where I can. Because what I keep overdoing is everything I like, I overdo it to the point where I think, I'm doing a bit too much of that. But this is the one thing I seem to be able to just do is more and more and more.
Oh my God! I mean, I'll just copy and paste everything you just said in the last minute. That's Oof. That's exactly that. Exactly that. Everything I like doing it. Everything I like doing, I managed to do it until I've kicked the arse out of it.
Yeah.
So with this, it feels really easy to do for me. And I think, you said something. I think you said, I heard you say, "Oh, they're just the same as me." I think, and that's homelessness is something. Touch wood, I've never been homeless. I've seen and heard a lot in my life from a young age, but we were never we always had a roof over our head. We always had clean clothes, all of that sort of stuff. Seen a lot of things with abuse and addiction, but was always warm and fed. And homelessness is something that you can just breeze through life without having to look at it. But when I've had to face, particularly the last few years, the extent of mental health and addiction in my life, it's made me realize that I'm genuinely one or two turns away from being there. One or two decisions to the left or the right, and I could be homeless as well. And it's I think doing it because you want to do it because you want to hope that some of these people, you're not going to see them because they've got themselves, and some of them, that's what I love is some of the guys who I've had this a few times where they've said, right, I'm actually, I'm going to go tomorrow, and because I've had my haircut, I'm going to go and try and get a job tomorrow. Or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had that a lot. So I'm so glad you're here tonight because I've got an interview tomorrow and things like that. It's very often, and it's lovely when we go to a centre and we gradually get to know people, and then the next thing they say, "I've got a place." We're all like, "Oh, it's amazing," But then, unfortunately, sometimes it's we go and it's they passed away, they're gone. They're the age, the mortality age of homeless people, street homeless people, is very, very low. I won't quote it because I don't know it, but I know it was shockingly low for men and women. And unfortunately, that is, the sad times, but the happy times are amazing when you get someone and as well, sometimes if you've been visiting a certain place a long time, and you gradually see them grow and get better, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's cool as, man. I love it.
Yeah. Well, at the end of that last session, we was on a chat. It was a great chat we was having, and I just wanted to continue it on here. And even my sister, the lovely Blinda, I said
she's a legend.
She's great, isn't she? And I said to her,
love her.
She said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Well, A, I'm not getting up early, and B, I'm in Steve's podcast. I definitely want to listen to that, because she was really interested by it all. She's more interested in your new tattoo, but apart from that,
well, I didn't get that to not get attention, did I?
Certainly not. It's wonderful. I wish I'd took a picture. I wanted to show my kids, but
I understand. I've shown it to one client, and I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man has got a showstopper on his thigh.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a fuck you tattoo, to be.
It certainly is. And funny enough, the guy with the tattoos, who had full body,
full covered.
and he had "fuck you" on the back, which I thought was really funny. It was amongst all this scroll work and everything, but then when I went, "Oh look, yeah, fuck you" on the back,
Oh,
so
I love
everyone
it.
behind him is saying "fuck you" too.
Love it.
But yeah, at the end of that conversation, you spoke about being HIV positive, and we had a chat about that and the stigmas and that. And I immediately related to that wonderful program that had all my family in tears. It's a Sin. And what was really scary for me at the time is that because I'm old enough, watching that drama unfold mixed in with the factual stuff of the adverts that went on the telly, and I remember that ignorant fear, the ignorant fear that the media, like people in that position at the time, it must have been absolutely horrendous because they were so victimized and ostracized and, alienated. And so I think, and what I loved about it, it was showing the truth, the reality, and, and to dismiss the fears. You must, when you saw it, it must have really moved you, that piece.
Well, I watched It's a Sin from start to finish 3 times.
Yeah, I've done it twice, yeah.
Because I've had a fair bit of therapy. I've seen like a psychotherapist continuously for about 3 years. 3 years for some people is nothing. And I'll definitely have more therapy in my life for sure. But the therapy relating to my HIV, I've been HIV positive 10 years now. It'll be 11 next year. The therapy that I got from It's a Sin was just that, like, I don't understand why it didn't win any award, why it didn't win a BAFTA. I don't get it. It was one of the best bits of TV I've ever seen. And I'm definitely not getting this wrong that it was Russell T Davies that done it.
Yeah.
And he done, he's really well known for Doctor Who. I don't really know about all of that stuff, but he done, I'm not a sci-fi guy.
Did he do Queer?
He done Queer as Folk, yeah. And Queer as Folk was also therapeutic in a sense that it kind of was the first thing that, because I was too young when it came out, but it was the first thing that I kind of, one of the first like box sets, videos, DVDs, whatever I would have bought at the time, that I reached for when I started being openly gay, because it, and I ended up moving to Manchester for a while as well. So I ended up doing it. I ended up doing it. But going back to It's a Sin, it was like, especially that monologue at the end by the young actress, I can't remember her name. It was like, she couldn't have put that whole last episode when the mum is, going around that hospital and her heels are clacking and she's deciding that she's gonna, all of that is so relevant. I've had my journey with it. I've had my journey from 2013, so I've had an insanely different time to what all those guys in the 80s had. I came into something very different, but It's a Sin. It was heartbreaking. I mean, I sobbed the whole time because I think about all the people and what they had to go through, but also because as much as we're in a different place, that stigma hasn't, disappeared. So yeah, it's one of the best bits of telly ever.
Yeah. To what extent do you think the stigma is still there? To what level do you think people's ignorance is?
Like, I think in this day and age, I'm 35, so I think of myself as very like I'm always worried about saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm always worried about using the wrong word. I grew up in Aberdeen, very, not very progressive, very white, like very, not very open at all. And, I think that, with HIV, I think people know that it's treatable. People know that it's not a death sentence, I think. But that's not to say the stigma's not still there. I think it depends on, in the gay community, I think the stigma's very low.
Mm.
But outside of that, I can't really, I'm not sure. I think because I've been very lucky with, I think I said this to you, I've been very lucky. I wrote an article a few years ago and it asked where I'd faced the biggest stigma. And I said, the biggest stigma I faced with HIV is from myself.
Really?
Because I've not had any family turn away from me. I've not had any friends turn away from me. I had to tell people 10 years ago, I was 24, and most of my friends were girls. I kept it to myself for almost a year. And when I finally started telling people, I remember telling my first female friend, and it was like, still upsets me to talk about it because she genuinely thought I was going to die. Like when I told her, she was like, I'm not laughing, but she was so hysterical. She was like, oh my God, you're going to die. And I'm like, no, like, let me tell you, it's not going to be like that. But going back to It's a Sin, that final monologue of shame, that's the biggest stigma I've felt, and the biggest stigma I think some gay guys have felt is to themselves, because getting HIV was like, to me in my 24-year-old head, was like evidence that there is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like being gay.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Like being gay had always felt that it always felt that I'm wrong because I'm gay. I'm dirty because there's something wrong with me. And I managed to package that okay. I was in the best industry for it, because hairdressing is one of the industries where being gay is okay. This is me talking in past tense, by the way. I know things are different now, but growing up in Aberdeen, it was okay because I could be camp and all those sorts of things. But getting HIV made things very real. It's an STI. It's so I think the stigma I've had to work through is the stigma that I've had against myself. And I think that's why I like to talk about it outside of maybe gay spaces, because I don't want there to be a stigma about it, So yeah.
It's fascinating to me because we are harder on ourselves than we would ever be to anyone else. We say things to ourselves that we wouldn't, unless you're a complete psychopath or something, you wouldn't dream of saying to other people. You wouldn't stand there and just say, but the things we say to ourselves, and it's I suppose the thing with me has been that the only thing I can relate to that is because I was abused as a child, and it took me a long time to just have no effect on me anymore, But the inner voice is, because what happened with that was in the 70s, and it was a time when things weren't. I love my parents. I miss them both dearly. I've got no judgment on them at all for it. They handled it the best they could at the time, but their reaction to it was to brush it under the carpet and, don't mention that. That's not, that's not nice. Well, I think my dad went and sorted it out, but it's got to be, and what that does to you, that gives you this feeling that you've done something terribly, terribly wrong. And I think until that point, you're almost like, like you're upset by it, but you don't particularly think you've done anything wrong, but that makes you feel like it. And then you've got that thing ongoing that you're, as you said the word dirty, and that resonated. You get that thing of like, yeah, you're dirty, you're spoiled goods, and as well, what it does, it twists your thinking. So it takes an awful lot of work to sort of untwist that and I think that's the thing. It takes a long time to learn to love yourself. And I think that's where also you feel stages of relationships not working, because it's almost impossible to love someone else unless you innately must love yourself. Until you start to love yourself, then you can actually have love for another person. So I'm giving you my life story now, but that's how I can connect to that. I don't know if that.
No, I mean, I really appreciate you telling me that, and I think you're such a rock star, man. That you can. No, you are. That's just so fucking cool that you can say that, because some people never allow themselves, because it does take compassion to want to get better. When you're in a jam with bad relationships or addiction or any of these things, when you're in a jam, you have to have at least a glimmer of wanting to be better. And I think, I've always felt like, no, not always. I was a very easy kid. I was like when I was a kid, I just wanted to be Freddie Mercury, ironically. But like, that's all I wanted to be. Honest to God, I wanted to be Peter Pan. I wanted to be Peter Pan. And then from the age of about 6, I was just obsessed with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I still am. I think got him there.
I see him.
He was just this to me, he was just like, oh my God, you're a man, but you look like the way you look, but you're just skipping about the stage, and no one's looking at anyone else. He was just this, just my idol in a lot of ways. And I was very innocent. I still am a little bit, but things happened with me when I was a kid as well. And I'm not comparing. I don't know what happened with you. And it was very complicated as well, because I've got a fantastic relationship with my mum now, which I'm extremely grateful for. But she's one of 11 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a big history of abuse within the family. As kids, she was one of the victims of it. And then nothing as bad. I don't know, abuse is abuse, but there was definitely. I still struggle to I've had therapy around it, and they've told me that I experienced abuse as a kid as well, and I still struggle to kind of put a finger on it or put a word on what happened, but it definitely started the beginning of me feeling dirty. And that feeling is like, I don't know if it'll ever leave me, actually. And I'm starting to believe that I'm not. But it is, I think it's maybe why things like coming back to like doing the homeless thing and stuff, that just feels so easy to do because I kind of, I don't want to sound like I understand because I've never slept a rough night in my life, but I get that feeling of feeling like damaged, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we're talking about powerful TV. The last few days, we've watched the Reckoning, the Steve Coogan, Jimmy Savile night, and he needs every award going for that. Firstly, for bravery, bravery for being the man who does portray. Who's going to want to take that on? And he does it in an incredible way. But last night we saw the last episode, and I won't say anything about anyone who's seen it, but there was just a little bit in there where there was this little boy, and he goes into a room, and then there's his shadowy figure in front, and it was exactly that really, and I don't get triggered hardly at all anymore. But that was the same scenario because this guy had French doors on the back, and he was there, and that's that feeling you can't get out. And that little thing, oh God, it got me right, really got me. And my boy, who's 27, right, I see him glance over, and I was trying not to, I didn't, And he went to bed after. He came out about 5 minutes later. He came out and gave me a cut off. So he must have picked up on it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm really quite sad that he saw that pain, but it doesn't come out very often, and that's why I was sort of, I'm really so pleased that people are brave enough to do these things. It's a sin, the reckoning, because it's almost like if it's making you feel uncomfortable, it's fucking working, We need to know, we need to feel, we need to understand, and we must always remember it's the crucial thing of these things.
I think as well, with any struggle, you need representation is so important. That's why I've always struggled with cancel culture, because I do believe if you've done something wrong, you have to pay the price 100%. But I don't know. There's something about people need to see that. I don't know. People need to see things that are difficult to look at and to see why that ends up happening.
Yeah.
Because no one else is going to get better, and no one else is maybe going to open up and say, "Oh, that happened to me."
Yeah. Well, Yeah. Well, that's the power. That's the power of what they've shown with this the reckoning, is the fact that it's highlighting that what happens when things are brushed under the carpet. It's highlighting that it could be so institutionalized, and someone can get so protected by, the powers that be, that they can then actually get away with hundreds and hundreds of cases of this most awful abuse that could ever happen, and you think, that's why everyone must know about these things. And it's a bit like, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there can't stand the sight of my face because it's on everywhere, and it's sort of, I'm sure there's the odd person, or not the odd, there's probably quite a few people that go, "Oh, who's he think he is? He's not, and that." But I will fucking shout about it because I am a flawed, selfish, alcoholic who's got a fucking MBE, right? I'm proud of that, because, and I'll tell everyone. I know people say, "I don't like to talk about it." Fuck that. I'm going to talk about it, because for every person out there who's struggling, who's been through what I went through as a child, or has been through the addiction that I've had, and I respect people who don't want to talk about it. I 100% respect that. But for me, I want to shout about it just purely because it gives hope. It gives hope to people who think, wow, perhaps it can all be all right. You know, perhaps it is worth it. Perhaps it is worth the struggle, the trial and challenge, you know. And it's not evangelical. It's just that's what pushes me to keep going with everything.
And it does. Like it feels brave. Some days, I don't know. Some days it'll feel brave. Some days it feels just fucking so uncomfortable. Some days it feels, is this even necessary? Am I being self-indulgent? Like, but to everyone else that's ready to listen, or even might think, it's hope. You know, and I've always felt really like quite sorted in my head and stuff, but ironically, like the more I keep things in, the more that kind of leads to me being mentally unwell. It's like, what I'm trying to say is, it's people that speak the truth, and their truth in history are seen as crazy a lot of the time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I've, especially growing up gay, I've spent I know we all do, but particularly growing up gay, I've spent my entire life so far spending an insane amount of time caring what people think. Insane. And that's why, you know, to get that tattoo on my leg of 3 men having an intimate embrace was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I would never have in a million years done that 10 years ago.
No.
Like, are you kidding? No way. So, and if that means you're a bit too loud for some people, or then that really doesn't matter, because the alternative to not speaking your truth is that you'll end up harming yourself or others.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so it's with HIV, it's something that I'm always happy to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's I never use the word struggle, because in terms of my health, I haven't struggled at all.
No.
Like, I got diagnosed nearly 11 years ago in Aberdeen, and I was looked after like a VIP, because you know, the HIV care people have had to fight tooth and nail to make HIV care a priority.
Yeah.
You know, and it's only been in the last, again, I don't want to quote wrong words or wrong timescales, but I'm just generalizing. In the last 20 years, it's only been that HIV care has been taken seriously. And, you know, it's, I take my medication, I'm undetectable. And in the last, particularly, it feels like the last 5 years, most people know that undetectable means untransmittable. So basically I'm going to get this right. So my viral load, which is your amount of the virus in your system and your immune system, is suppressed to a point by the medication where it is undetectable. So I cannot, if I continue to take my medication and I get my bloods done, and I've been undetectable consistently for 9 years.
Wow.
So I can't transmit HIV.
Yeah.
I'd have to stop taking the meds and just completely disregard it to even get to that point where I could potentially transmit it. And it's, I feel very blessed because it wasn't that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that when it first came around,
No, you could see, and I know it was a drama, but it was a very powerful and real one. It was that look when they were told, that look of this death sentence and a very ugly, horrible death. It weren't, as if you're going to pass away. It was, those guys went through it, and it was the worst ever. And, and even that, just to say to someone like, well, I've had it sort of 10 plus years and I've been untransmittable for 9 of those years, is that some people won't even know that. This is why this is so important, I think. They'll think that you never could be the point where you're completely untransmittable, let alone for the majority of the time you've had it.
Yeah. 100%. It's, I think there's so many things like homelessness, like HIV. There's so many things that we don't have. I mean, there's a million things I'm sure that I'm ignorant to, because they don't affect my life.
Yeah,
and in the last, when I talk about feeling that I'm always going to say the wrong thing, that's what I mean. In the last 5 years, particularly, I've had to look at so many things and go, oh my God, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that that's how people were made to feel. I had no idea that I was playing a part in that. Like, blows my mind still.
Yeah.
And I think with being gay and with HIV, it's because you see, being gay so open now, and you see adverts on Tesco's with same-sex couples having, obviously there's other supermarkets, but whatever, you can see adverts everywhere where people are happy and living their true life. And Gareth Thomas, the rugby player, has been open about his status in the last few years, and that's an amazing step forward, particularly because Gareth's story came from a prime example of the fact that stigma's still there.
Oh, yeah.
He came out because he was being threatened.
Yeah.
He was being told by the press that we're going to tell your family unless you kind of So it's still there, but it can get better. And the whole idea with HIV is that, we, again, I don't want to quote statistics or anything, but, Terence Higgins Trust and all these amazing charities, and sexual health services like Dean Street in London and all these amazing sexual health services, the idea is to get HIV to a point where it's not an issue anymore. It's the infection rates are getting lower and lower every year. So yeah, little by little, eh?
Yeah, little by little. Exactly right. In fact, what we normally do is after this, I'll get you to email me your favourite headshot, and we'll get and I'll write a bio to go with the podcast. I think maybe this time we should just have a picture of your tattoo on the cover, I think.
Oh my God, listen. If you want to change the demographic of your audience, I don't know if it's going to lose you listeners or gain you. But it might get my tattoo artist more clients.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a clever man.
He's got a pretty long waiting list as it is. But
I'm sure. No, honestly, it's been wonderful talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. It's really been emotional, and I had you in high regard, but I've got you even more high regard now. And, you know, I can't wait to, you know, I can't wait to come back and join you on the front line. And, you know, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate it. And when I say you're a rock star, you are, you know, and it's like, it's gave me Haircuts for Homeless is, in the year I've had, it's given me, when you struggle with things like addiction, like I do, having stability is, it's life or death. And the Haircuts for Homeless, even though I only do it once a month, it really gives me stability. It's somewhere where I'm going to be every month. And it's just amazing. I hope it goes forever.
So do I. I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, pal.
Thank you.